I would like to introduce you to, she's a professor in Department of Theater, Arts, and Dance. She's speech coordinator and the Toro Speech and Debate Director. This is Professor Garabaya. So please welcome her.
Thank you. Is it okay if I put my water here? Thank you. So nice to meet you all. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to give you a little information about how I got to do job interview things, because that seems really odd for somebody who's in theater and dance. How did she get there? So I am a theater person. I started doing theater when I was 9 years old. I went to a performing arts school that started at 4th grade. So I was very fortunate to study theater from then all the way up until I finished my MFA. But along the way, because I'm an Army brat, my mother was in the Army for 20 years before she retired. And so because of that, I had to move around a lot. And my junior year of high school, I ended up at a high school in Sacramento that had no theater program whatsoever. And I had some friends and they said, oh, we know, it sucks that we don't have theater. We do speech. You should join the speech team. And I said, all right, cool, yeah, sure, that sounds like fun. I didn't know that speech had this like category that was kind of like acting competition events. And so I started doing them and did those and went to the state championship and won a state championship in California my junior year. And then I got to go back to my performing arts high school. So, because my mom was deployed and then she was not deployed anymore, so I went back. And when I went back to the performing arts school that I went to, I started our speech and debate team there. So great, I'm gonna do it there. And won some state titles there, thought it was great, loved it, went to college and was a theater major and said I'm never gonna do speech and debate ever again. Then I transferred schools. I started at Cal State Long Beach, and then I transferred to a smaller school in Riverside called California Baptist University. And I was a theater major there, which was great. And I took a class for my major. It was oral interpretation of literature. It's a speech class. And I met one of my now best friends, and she was the captain of the speech and debate team. And she says, oh, no, you are going to join the speech and debate team. And I said, no, I did that in high school. I'm done. Now I'm just going to do theater. And she said, you did it in high school, you have to do it now. And I said, okay, fine. And I'm very glad she convinced me to do it because we went to nationals that year, won a national title. I continued and stayed on, won 2 more national titles after that. It was a wonderful experience and I loved it. And then I thought I was done. I'm done. I'm not going to do speech ever again. This is great. I went and got my Master of Fine Art in Acting. I was at Cal State Long Beach. And my goal was to be a professor. I love teaching. It's something I've always enjoyed doing, and I thought it was the right career for me. So I went for a program that was specifically targeted towards people who wanted to be professors. I loved it. I taught the entire time I was there, knew it was going to be a great experience. And when I finished my MFA, I thought, this is great. I'm going to get a teaching position. I did not in theater. That was not happening. Because I was young, and all the people who wanted to be theater professors were 10, 15, 20 years older than me with 10, 15, 20 years more acting and theater performance experience than I did, plus they were good teachers. I couldn't get it. But fortunately for me, somebody called me up the day I finished my MFA and said, hey, you want to come coach our speech and debate team? And I said, yes, I do. It was my debate coach's debate coach. His name is Dr. Gary Reibold. He was the department chair at Irvine Valley College, and I'm very grateful he had me do that because that was when my speech journey began for like coaching and things. Every job I've ever had in my entire life has been as a public speaker. I just fell into that. And it's not the same as acting, because acting you get to be a character. Not the same with public speaking. I myself, this is not me, I'm not playing a role, and so a lot of actors have difficulty doing this. I just happen to be good at it. I'm glad, because it got me a job. And I've been living in the speech and theater world ever since. So when the job opened here at DH to be able to do what I do, which is, our department is theater and dance, well, I also happen to be a dancer. I've been a hula dancer for 17 years. And I love it. I've been a dancer for a long time. I was like, great. They're looking for a speech person who does theater and it's also dance. I found my perfect job. And I love it here. I've been here since the fall of 2019. I got here right before COVID started. And then I got 1 semester in, and then we all went home for COVID. And I love it here. I absolutely love it. One of the things I love the most about what I do here at DH is, yes, I'm over all the speech curriculum. Yes, I coach the speech and debate team. Yes, I do all the things speech. I help with Student Research Day and the students who go to state for that. I work with our commencement speakers, so every student commencement speaker you see has worked with me. I help them write their speech and work on delivery. It's just a wonderful thing that I get to do. I help faculty who are going to make presentations and conferences. It's just a wonderful thing to do, and I love it. But the favorite part about what I do here is it leaves me time to do things professionally outside of the university. So, as a career, I'm a motivational speaker, so I go out and I help give speeches. I also do workshops and coaching, and it allows me the chance to do things like job interviews. You're like, how did you get to that? Well, because I've been a public speaker for so long, I'm always like, I can do job interviews. I'm good at that, right? And I thought, I'm good at it. But why was I so good at it? And then I started actually talking to some of my other colleagues who did competitive speech and debate. We all are really good at job interviews. Figured out why. What is that secret? I should probably teach other people how to do that as well. So I've been doing it for a number of years. It started when I was a professor in Nashville, where I actually started teaching courses and classes and training people and coaching mothers who are returning to the workplace after having been stay-at-home moms for a number of years. It began to be something that I just absolutely loved to do. So I still do it. So people actually pay me money to help them work on job interviews and prep for doing interviews. So of course, I would be happy to teach my DH family how to do that because this is where I'm at, and I want you to succeed. So the things that I would talk to you about are a number of things, are a collection of things, both from career field that I have learned, working in HR, I've been a corporate trainer to actually work with people as they're training, like new employee training, things like that, and I know what happens on the other side of the table for hiring, but also just the secrets and things that we use in public speaking that will help you learn how to do great job interviews and to nail the job. So some of the things you'll go, no, that's not true, and I'll say, yeah, it is. So trust me. And I know that not everything works for everybody, so if there's something that you're like, I just don't feel comfortable with that, that's not for me, always know that we want you to be your best self in a job interview. So the most important thing is that you feel comfortable and confident. So if something I tell you that you should be doing and you're like, I can't do that, and all you're thinking about is in your head at the job interview, then don't do it, because that's not going to work for you, all right? So let's talk about some strategies for this. I think I heard, but somebody tell me, you're all going to be educators, correct? Teachers, K through 12 primarily?
Yes.
What, any specific subjects are we all going for overall? What was that, science? Math, English. I love it. Nice blend of everything. I love it. It's fantastic. Just fun fact, we are actually working on the theater and dance credential for teachers here. It's something we started on, and so now there will actually be an actual subject credential in the state of California for people who are teaching theater and dance. Because currently, that's not the case. You have to like do something else, and then you get to teach it at your school. But there will actually be a credential in the state of California if we want to do those. So that'll be fun. All right, so what we're going to talk about. So you know who I am. Thanks for telling me a little bit about you. We're going to talk about the perception that we present in job interviews because it becomes really important for how you get the job. We're going to talk about interview formats. We're going to go over some interview questions. We're actually going to go over the top interview questions here in the U.S. as reported by Glassdoor.com. If you are not familiar with Glassdoor, you're going to hear me talk about them quite a bit. You need to know Glassdoor. They are going to be your best friend. So if you haven't bookmarked that website on your computers, on your tablets, on your phones, you will use Glassdoor a lot, and you should use Glassdoor a lot. It is a fantastic place. It is also a good place to learn about like where you're applying for jobs, because we use Indeed a lot, but not the best place to apply for jobs specifically these days. So we'll talk about that. And then I'll give you a chance to practice if we have some time going over your answers for interviews, because that is important. We forget we should be practicing for job interviews. And people don't. You think it's just something you don't know. You do know what they're going to ask, so be prepared. All right, let's talk about this. Moving on. So, one of the things that we have to deal with job interviews is nervousness. We get scared. It's a situation that we don't do all the time. And the best way to get better at nervousness and working through those nerves is to actually do something a lot. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So I actually spent a good amount of time just going on job interviews for fun. Jobs I know I didn't want. Jobs I knew I wasn't going to take just to do them because I think they're fun. I know, I'm the weirdo. So practicing them is good, right? It helps. But they're not something that most people do all the time, yet it's something we can never get away from. I only know one person in my life who's had the ability to get jobs without going on a job interview. My friend Stephen has never been on a job interview in his entire life. He is also from a family that's very wealthy, and he manages his grandfather's trust. So, you know, he interviews a lot of people, but he's never had to do one himself. The rest of us are not so lucky. We all need to get good at job interviews. So, the first thing you can do to work on that nervousness is to practice. And most people don't practice the right way. So you need to practice the way you are going to present. That means, if you notice, I am wearing a suit right now. I'm wearing a suit and I'm wearing heels. And my students will tell you I don't teach like this. This is not how I teach. But whenever I do a workshop on job interviews, I dress this way so you can see this is what I wear in a job interview. I wear this. And I've done job interview workshops for people who are going into like the trades and going into HVAC. And they're like, you want me to wear a suit to an HVAC interview? And I go, yep, do you want the job? Yeah, well then you should go in with your best foot forward because I'm gonna present the best that I have. Whatever your best is, that's what I'm doing. So I'm putting the suit on. So when I'm practicing, guess what I'm putting on? This thing. Why? Because I don't wear this every day. We stand different, we feel different, we talk different, we behave different in different outfits. So yesterday I was at Disneyland. Didn't wear this to Disneyland, but I'm not wearing my Disneyland outfit to my job interview. So I'm gonna put this on. I'm gonna practice in this. If for no other reason, I wanna put this on because I don't know if this outfit's gonna fit. Just be real. Holidays just happened. I had some really good food. I make amazing macaroni and cheese, by the way, and it was great. I ate all the mac and cheese. This may not fit right now. And you don't want to wear something that does not fit you and you don't feel comfortable in. So put on the outfit just to make sure it fits. Make sure it doesn't make any noise. Make sure you can button the jacket. Make sure the shoes work and they look good. I pulled out a pair of shoes a couple months ago that I hadn't worn since pre-COVID. Can't wear them anymore. Not because they don't fit, but because they're patent leather. Patent leather gets old and dry and crusty, and they're cracked. Ooh. Don't wait until the night before your interview, pull that outfit out because it may not work. So I'm gonna practice in my outfit. At the very least, I'm gonna practice in my shoes. Okay. The other thing is I'm going to do the interview, I'm gonna practice my questions the way I'm going to give them in the interview. So I'm not gonna sit on my couch and just flip through the questions and kind of run through the answers in my head. No, I'm gonna take myself off the couch. I'm going to go sit at a table, I'm gonna put my resume in front of me, and I'm going to practice my answers to the questions out loud. If you can have somebody help you, it's really beneficial because then they can ask you the questions and you can practice your answers, right? But the other thing I have is, moving on to prepare, I have the answers to my questions already typed out. I'm prepared for that because I can prepare for the majority of the questions they're going to ask me. We think we don't know what they're going to ask us until we get in the job interview. Yeah, you do. If you take a moment and sit back and think, you know what they're going to ask you. We are educators. They're going to ask us questions about how we teach, what is our pedagogy, what did we learn, what's our area of expertise, how do you feel about teaching students from diverse backgrounds. You know those questions are gonna pop up. Why? Because you're an educator, you should expect them to do that. You should expect them to ask you why you wanna teach at that specific school. Not why I wanna be an elementary teacher, but why I wanna teach at this school in this community. What is unique about it? And you should know the answer to that. That should not be a surprise. So you're gonna prepare for that. You're gonna get everything ready. And before you go, you're gonna have everything laid out. You're gonna have extra copies of your CV. You're gonna have extra copies of anything you need to bring with you. You're gonna have your water bottle prepared. You're gonna have your outfit out and ready to go. You're gonna have anything you need for that interview. As educators, we often have to do teaching demonstrations. So you're gonna run through that presentation. You're gonna have your clicker. You're gonna have got everything ready and sitting at the door ready to go. That is how we prepare, and we are calm and focused. Oftentimes we don't do that. We're rushing and you're trying to get out. No, set that. Trick yourself. Your interview starts at 9:30. You gotta be there at 9 o'clock. Put it in your phone. Travel time is an hour. I'm gonna be there by 9. Why? Because at 9 o'clock, I'm gonna be sitting in that parking lot. I'm gonna be putting my blazer on. I'm changing my shoes because I don't drive in these shoes. Changing my shoes, getting all prepared, got my water, grabbing everything so that I can calmly walk into my interview ready to kill it. Because that is really important, all right? next thing I have on here is breathing. Why is breathing important for job interviews and getting rid of nervousness? Any ideas? There's a really simple answer. Yes?
Did you forget to breathe when you're talking fast?
Yes, absolutely. You do forget to breathe when you're talking fast. And also, if you don't breathe, you die. Let's not die before we get the job. Let's make sure we're alive. Right? But when you get nervous, you're either in one of two camps. True, everybody. You are either in camp A, which is, I breathe faster, right? I'm nervous, so your breathing speeds up, and you're like, right? That's not good. We breathe quicker, and so your breathing isn't regulated, and we're no more nervous. Or you're in camp B, which is you hold your breath. You are in one of those two camps. If you haven't thought about which one you're in, it's okay. You'll find out soon enough. Either way, you need to focus and regulate your breathing so that you don't have that nervousness and you can actually talk. So, breathing is important. And the type of breathing that you do makes a big difference. So most of us are just like, okay, breathe. Nope, not good. It's actually important that you inhale through your nose and exhale out your mouth. It is a very specific type of breathing. In most of the things that I've learned, we call it ocean breathing. My daughter likes to call it Darth Vader breathing because it sounds like Darth Vader. I don't really care what you do as long as you know that you need to do it. And ocean breaths, I will demonstrate them for you so you can see it. But they do a few things, but they really are great at calming you down and focusing. So here's what it looks like. And I'm going to do these in my car before I go in because I'm not going to do these in my interview because they look really weird. So you want to do that before you get out and go in. But it's important. Now, the rule is you need at least 3 ocean breaths to regulate you and get you back to normal. So 1 is not going to do it. You need at least 3. More if you can, right? If you can focus and maybe do it, like set a timer on your watch or your phone, do it for like a minute, that really helps. It'll really center you and bring you to focus. The thing you want to do with your ocean breaths, in addition to breathing, you want to think of a count in your head. So let's say we're going with 3. I'm going to count as I'm doing it. I'm going to inhale. 1, 2, 3, and then exhale. 1, 2, 3. It helps regulate. It also gets your brain focused on something other than the narrative that's running through your mind about all the things that you're nervous about. It really does focus you. Because by the time you get to the interview, folks, you're already qualified. So you need to be focused and realize, I'm going to kill it. So we're all focused. Once you get there, you are on, I'm amazing. All these other people can go home because this job is mine. Thanks so much. So you're going to do that. You're going to focus, get your brain right, get all those other things out of your head that are telling you anything other than that. And now you can center and focus. So at least 3 ocean breaths if you can do it. Again, do them in your car before you walk in the door, because the moment you walk in the door, the interview has already started. Okay. That's why we do the next thing I have here is arrive early. It's important. Get there early. It will save you. You'll feel better. They also will notice you because you got there rather than the person who runs in at the last minute and sweating and doing all the things. You're prepared. Okay? And I will tell you, I have not, any job I've had that's not been teaching. Okay? I'm always the person who runs in the door right at the time that it starts. I'm like, I gotta be there at 10 o'clock. I'm running in the door at 10 o'clock. On the nose. You are not getting me there early. But as an educator, I never walk in the door right on time. I'm always there a little early. And you kind of have to be, because you gotta take attendance, you gotta do things. Even now, I can't come in too early here because there's somebody in the class before me, but I'm gonna get there a few minutes early so I have a chance to put my stuff down, focus, and I can talk to my students ahead of time. I have no problem getting there early because I actually like what I do. And I hope you do too. So get there early so you can show them all that wonderful things. You're modeling what you're going to do as an educator. You're going to get to your class early. You're going to be prepared and ready to receive students. We're going to come early. The other thing that arriving early is it shows who you are as a person and your work ethic. And you're not impressing the people who are interviewing you because they won't see you. You know who will see you? The secretary in the front. The admin person. They're the people who really run things. So if you ever go on a job interview and you think that they're the people you need to know. They're the people you should be impressing because they really run everything. It's not the principal. It's the principal's admin who runs everything. They are the person that you want to impress when you come in. Be nice to them, smile, arrive early, keep your phone in your bag. It is not out while you're doing it. You are ready and prepared. You can look over your notes, you can look over your resume, but you are certainly not going to be doing that and you're gonna be polite to that person, because I guarantee you, whoever interviewed you is gonna ask the admin person how you were sitting there. So that's why we get there early. We have time to impress that person too. Nice, be polite. Hey, how you doing? What's your name? So nice to meet you. You're wonderful. Oh my God, I love that Stanley Cup. Did you stand in the line at Target and fight everybody for the pink one? Me too. It's so great. Oh my God, thanks so much. Okay. How would I say? Right, all the things. Small talk is important. You want all that stuff. And if you don't come early, you don't have time for that. Okay. The next thing I tell people to do is smile. And that's so bizarre. People are like, why do I need to smile? So why would I tell you to smile to help you with nervousness, job interviews? Why is smiling important? Yes?
So they can like you and they can like give you the job.
Yes, so one, it does make you look likable, right? I'm friendly, I'm smiling, that person is happy, right? I'm confident, I'm smiling, absolutely. What else happens when you smile?
Smiling also actually relaxes you and makes you feel more calm and happy.
It absolutely does. There is research that proves that when you smile, it actually does change how you feel emotionally. So here's the deal. When we are happy, our chest is back, our shoulders are out, our chest is out, our shoulders are back, our chin is up, we smile, we have this, our eyes are bright. That is what we do when we are happy and confident. So when you're not happy and confident, if you do those things, shoulders back, chest out, chin up, smile, eyes bright, it actually does make you feel confident and happy. It's crazy, right? But the inverse works as well. So when we're sad, everything goes in and sinks down. We're like, So if you are a performer and you need to be sad, that you could do that. It makes you sad. So we're not gonna be those people. We're gonna be confident, we're gonna be happy, and smile. What else happens when you smile? What's that? It breaks the ice. What else does it do? If I smile at you, what do? You smile back. And I know that is a crazy thing. I'm a half Southerner, because I'm half from Southern California and half from Jackson, Mississippi. That's where my mom was stationed in the Army. So we have an unwritten rule in the South. If somebody makes eye contact, if you make eye contact with somebody, you have to smile or speak. It's a rule. You got it. If you don't, somebody will say something to you. How dare you be that rude? So yes, but it just happens. When we smile at people, they smile back. And frankly, I would love to have an audience of smiling people, because I'm already nervous. And a smiling face is going to help me tremendously. So I absolutely want that smiling face. So I'm going to smile because it makes me feel good, but I'm also going to smile because they're going to smile back at me. Now, fun fact, if you are planning to go teach in a different country, all right, so if any of you are not planning on staying here, the smiling trick does not work in Asian countries. They are not a smiling culture. So don't use that trick if you're going to go teach English in China or something. It does not work. They are not a smiling culture. They will look at you like you're crazy. Like, why are you smiling at me? And they will not smile back. You can smile because it makes you feel good, but they won't smile back. It's just not that. It doesn't work. So be careful. Also, some other countries in Europe are not smiling cultures, so be aware of that. But we, in the U.S., oh man, we're smiling people. We're going to smile all the way. Smile away. We will smile back at you. It's great. All right. The next one is keep going. Why would I give you that as a thing for like being nervous or trying to get through job interviews? Why is that advice? What do I mean by keep going? You may have any ideas.
Like if you feel like you mess up, just keep going, like just kind of like wing it, maybe not wing it, like mess up, but like just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. We give ourselves away all the time. We tell people when we mess up when nobody knew.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't know what your answers are. They don't know what you were going to say. They may not even know that you messed up, but when you tell them, now they know. When you say, oh, I'm so sorry, I never apologize. Are you kidding me? I absolutely meant to do every single thing that I just did. Why? Because this job is mine, and those other people are going to apologize and tell you they messed up. But what I did, I totally meant to do, and I'm just going to keep talking until I fix it. Keep going. Do not ever acknowledge fault in that. Don't apologize for anything. You didn't do anything wrong. You are human. So what happened? You coughed? You said the wrong thing. You stumbled over your words. Okay. Shame on you for being a normal human being. Who does that? How dare you? Why would I apologize for that? And there's also something, statistically they talk about those of us who come from families who have usually a lot of like immigrant families, or if you come from a background or a childhood that has trauma, we tend to be people who apologize a lot more because we feel like us taking up up space is hard, like we don't deserve to be in the space, so we tend to apologize more for things when there's no apology needed. So if you're thinking about apologizing for something, the thing now is to flip it. So instead of saying, I'm so sorry I was late, you say, thank you for your patience in allowing me to arrive when I got here. Instead of saying, oh, I'm so sorry I messed up, you say, thank you so much for allowing me the ability to just be human. I appreciate that. I don't need to apologize for anything. You're a person, right? You're going to make mistakes, we all do. Accept it, move on, okay? But don't acknowledge it, don't point it out. I also put be yourself. I think this is important in speaking, right? Always important in speaking, but it's really important in job interviews. And I think it's important, especially for us as educators, because who you are in the classroom makes a big deal. It makes a difference to your students. We know that representation matters. We know that students are looking for people that they can connect to. The same thing exists in a job interview. If you get to the job interview, it's not because they're not interviewing you to see if you're qualified. They're interviewing you to see if they want to work with you. It's a secret nobody tells you. You're like, what? I'm not sure. No, they just want to know if they want to work with you. Because I'm not going to waste my time interviewing somebody who's not qualified for the job. Speaking as a person who is literally doing a hiring search right now, we just went through all the applications, and you know what we didn't do? We are not interviewing people who are not qualified for the job. Not doing it, right? Because it's a waste of our time. So if they're coming in, they're already qualified. Now we're talking about other stuff, like are they the best fit for this based on our interaction? And you being yourself means that I get to see who you are and if you're really gonna be the right person for this. If I can really work with you. If you're gonna be the right person for our student group. And don't ever feel bad if you didn't get a job because you were yourself and they didn't want that. That doesn't mean there's a problem with you. It means that that wasn't the right position for you. And we don't want to be in a position that's not for us. Now, granted, you might end up with a position that you're like, okay, I need this job, but if it's not right for you, you're going to be miserable. And it's not going to be a good fit for you. You're not going to do the best thing you can do. You're not going to be your best self. You're not going to give your all. So if you don't get the job because somebody is saying like, oh, you weren't the right fit for this, that's okay. Thank them very much. Take the experience of what you learned from the job interview and use it in the next one. It's never a bad thing, right? Don't look at not getting a job as a bad thing. Look at it as an opportunity for you to get something that is better suited for you. Okay? There are universities that didn't hire me. That's okay. You know why? Because this one did, and this is where I love being. I love being here. Right, yes. I love being a DH. I've taught at a lot of different universities, and I have never felt more at home. I've never loved my students more. I love my colleagues. I love my department. I love my dean. Like, this is really a great, like, I love my job. I'm very grateful, and I know not everybody has that, but I'm grateful for every other university that did not hire me because it gave me the opportunity to be here. And fortunately for you, there is another school that will hire you, okay? You're an educator. We are in high demand. So if one school doesn't hire you, I guarantee you there's 3 or 4 more that desperately need you and will. So don't panic that you were yourself in an interview and you're like, that principal didn't like me, that person didn't think I was it. That's okay, because it's not a personal attack. You are still wonderful. It's just that position was not for you. All right? So be yourself, always. Let them see your unique personality, how you teach, all those things. Even if you think you're a weirdo who's quirky and does crazy stuff, that's okay, because some schools want that. Right? My daughter's school has one 5th grade teacher. He is like the most unique, crazy kooky guy, but his students love him. He's been voted best teacher many, many times at his school, and everybody, the parents think he's great, and his students love him. He's a wonderful educator. That's okay. Who you are is in need. We all have to find our tribe, so be okay if they don't. The last thing is there, I'm already kind of alluding to it, is this positive thinking. You'll notice that I've kind of layered that under pretty much everything you have here. If you think you're going to get the job, or if you think you're not going to get the job, you're right. The majority of this is a mind game. It is about how you feel about getting the job and doing the job and being successful in the job interview. I told you I walk into every job interview, even the ones I didn't want. Really, I don't want this job. This is my job. Hi, how are you? So nice to meet you. In my head, I'm thinking, you should just go home because this job is mine. Thanks so much. Because I brought my A game. I brought everything. I'm dressed to get this part. I am amazing. Because we forget to be amazing to ourselves. We will cheer everybody else on. You will cheer your best friend, your sister, your primos, everybody. You'll be like, you're gonna be amazing. You are gonna get this job. And then you don't do that for yourself. So who's there to cheer you on? Me. I am my cheerleader. I am going to kill it. I'm gonna be great. Why am I gonna kill it? Because I did all of these things already. I practiced, I prepared, I'm reading, I'm early, I got my outfit, I'm all those things. I just need to remind myself that I'm amazing. Fun fact, we are thinking about white, cisgender, heterosexual males. Okay? They apply for jobs that they only meet about 10% of the job criteria. You hear that and go, what? I would never apply for a job that I only meet 10% of the criteria. Yeah, because the rest of us won't apply unless we meet 60% or more of the criteria. Guess what? They got the job. Why? They walk in like they own the place. Of course I need this job. So what? I only meet 10% of the criteria. I met that one thing. I can do that. That's for me. They walk into the interview like, I got this. I can do this job. And guess what? They can. Because the majority of things that we do in our jobs, we learn on the job. That's why you have to do student teaching. You can learn in the classroom all you want, but you got to be like in the class teaching so you know what the experience is like. So it's okay. So apply. Be confident. Walk in there like you own the place and you are going to nail it. That is the biggest thing you can do. It's not cocky. It's confident. Okay? We have a lot of us come from cultures where pride is a bad word. You can't be proud. How dare you? That's wrong. It's not pride if you earned it. You earned the right to be there. You studied, you learned, you have practiced, you have done the homework, you have gotten the degrees, you did the work. You are not going in there with pride over something that you didn't earn. You earned everything. I always tell people, you're standing on your achievements. So walk in with that confidence. Not, oh my God, I'll be lucky if I get this. No, they will be lucky to have me. I am amazing. And it is very important that you go with that amount of confidence. The positive thinking aspect of this is tremendous. You have to have that. When you answer, I don't care if your answer was wrong. Say it confidently and be proud. You don't know if it was the wrong answer. It might have been the right answer. You know how many times I say things in rooms? I'm a chair for the Kennedy Center. I run something. I do a lot of work for them. I answer questions all the time. They're like, I don't know if that was the right answer. But I said it with a smile and confidently, and they were like, that was so well put. And I went, it was? All right, you're welcome. Thanks so much. Right? Because I said it confidently, and I knew what I said, and they believed it. So sometimes we just say that. My husband is an attorney. He does it all the time, too. He says stuff, and people just believe him. He's like, I don't know if that was right, but they believed it because I thought it was right, and I'm like, good for you. It works. You just got to believe in yourself. Okay? All right. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because we don't like it. Perception. What people perceive of you is the truth. It is not the reality of who you are, but it is the truth to them. And when we talk about things like job interviews, you do not get a second chance to make that impression. That's it. So whatever they think of you when you go into that job interview is what you are to them. You can't go back and say, you can't judge a book by its cover. That's not what I am. That's what you showed me. I'm just going to believe that. And if you don't believe me, think about any celebrity that you have some negative perception of. That's probably not who they are in real life. But that's who you think it is. You're like, I don't like Jessica Biel. Do you guys know who Jessica Biel is? Anybody know who she is? Yeah. I don't like Jessica Biel. You know why? Just because she's married to Justin Timberlake. I think that means she's kind of snobby and, whatever. I don't like her. I'm sure that woman is lovely. But my perception of her is, she's great. That's the truth to me, and I will take that to my grave. You probably have somebody you think that about too, and it's probably not who they really are. Because we are multi-dimensional people with multiple layers and different things about us. So that may be one quality about somebody you don't like, but there's other things. Just like you. You're not one-dimensional, there's multiple things about you. So you are going to choose the perception you want people to have. Don't be afraid of it. Do not be afraid of the idea that they're going to accept the perception of you. You know why? Because I am going to craft this perception. I have the ability to craft what I want people to think of me, particularly in job interviews. I am going to go in there and get them to think what I want them to think about me. Everything. So I will tell some people, they'll go, you know what? I have lots of piercings. I have lots of tattoos. I have a fun colored hair. Should I change that before I go in the job interview? And I go, depends on what perception you want them to have of you. What perception do you want them to have? You go in there and present that. This is the perception I want in my job interview. I want them to think I put on my best outfit. I actually put on makeup today, not something I do all the time, because I want you to think that I'm a person who's going to look professional and come in all the time. I put on a suit, I'm wearing heels. This is the perception I wanted to present. I could have just as easily gone in that interview and not in a suit. I could have put on, some slacks, and this is California, it's Southern California at that. We never wear business attire, everything's business casual-ish. And even our business casual is way more casual than most of the country. So you could wear whatever you want, but the perception I wanted to present was, I want this job more than the other people. So I'm going to come in and give the best of everything that I have. I'm going to choose the things I talk about. I'm going to target my examples to the place that I'm interviewing. So if I know, I'm very fortunate, right? I'm biracial. My mother is African American and my father is Puerto Rican. So I get to exist in two wonderful cultures. You don't think I use that to my advantage when I walk in an interview? If I'm in a largely African American community, you think I'm not going to talk about all the cool things about being black and talk about black culture? Absolutely. That's the perception I want them to have of me. If I'm with all of my Latino brothers and sisters, I'm going to absolutely be Latin and talk about all the Latin things that I am, because I'm both. It's great, right? We do that. And fun fact, because I've been a member of the AAPI community as a hula dancer, my Hawaiian name is Kea Kalani, by the way, and I am very involved in the community. So can I talk about Hawaiian community and Hawaiian culture? Absolutely. And don't think I'm not about to talk about that, because that's the perception I want to present. I'm crafting those things. I show up to everything that's Hawaiian in all my Hawaiian gear and use my Hawaiian name because that's what I know. Is that wrong? No, it's just who I am and it's a part of me, and I choose to present that perception. You get to choose. Choose the perception you want them to have. So how are we going to do that? So perception is competence plus character, and it builds this credibility that they have of us. We want them to perceive, that's why it's here, that we are credible, that we are the right person. So the perception we're going to do is build this. So we're going to start with competence. And this is what they think you know about the job. Not what you actually know. Point that out. It's what they think you know about the job. So I'm going to go in and let them think all the things that I know about the job are the things that they want. I am going to show them that I'm competent. So I'm going to specifically pick my answers for my interview questions. I'm going to have those ahead of time. I'm going to practice them because studies show that people who speak well, clearly, who are confident, who don't stumble, who know what they're saying, we perceive that they are knowledgeable about the topic. Doesn't mean that they actually are. There's a lot of people who sounded really great and don't know jack squat. But you know what you're talking about. So you want to give them the perception that you do and that you're an expert at that. So I'm going to practice my things. I'm going to make sure I have examples of what my work is. I'm going to be able to talk about those examples. Why? Because I'm going to practice. I want them to think I'm competent. The other things I'm going to do so they know I'm competent, I'm going to throw in some academic stuff. If my pedagogy is based on, if I'm going to talk about like pedagogy of the oppressed, I'm absolutely going to include that. So some citations, throw that in and back it up. Yeah, I'm going to sound super intelligent about that. Why? Because I'm going to get some sources. That's what you do in academia. You want to sound competent? Yeah, I'm going to throw all that stuff in. Do I know pedagogy of the oppressed? Yes, I do. I use it all the time. But oftentimes we talk about the things we do, but we don't cite them with backups. So I'm going to provide some evidence and support for the things that I'm talking about. Because name dropping those things, that's a source citation, folks. We know how to write papers. I'm going to cite some stuff in my interview too. Because if I'm building my curriculum, if I'm building my job off of those things, I am certainly gonna tell you who I got to support that information. Because it makes me seem more competent. Has that perception, right? Lets them think I know what I'm talking about. Then I'm gonna talk about my character. What is character? Why, what is that? What's your thought about that? Anybody? What is character? Any thoughts? What was that?
Being funny, right?
Yeah, but so I don't think I'm funny. But that might be a part of my personality, right? So, yeah, absolutely. So character is what they think about who you are as a person. And we want them to like or respect us. Some people go for liking. I like my students to like me. That's, I'm not dying to do it, but it's something that I do. I'm purposeful with the things that I talk about, with sharing my own individual experiences in my personal life, because I want them to like me as a person. Because when people like you as a person, they listen and learn more. Think about who your favorite professor was, your favorite teacher. You remember way more from their class than you did from the professor you hated. Don't remember a lot from that professor you thought was terrible. Not at all. But the one you liked, you probably remember a lot more. I want them to like me. Because they're going to remember the stuff I talk about in my interview if they like me. So it's great. So I'm going to smile, right? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to talk about things that are myself. I'm going to try to connect with them. Small talk is a very important component of a job interview. Remember, you're there because they need to know if they want to work with you. So chatting about things that you have in common, chatting about things that you might, be like, great, yeah. Hey, whatever, find something. I'll talk about my shoes, or, I went to Disneyland. Oh my God, I love Disneyland. Oh, me too, I've been a Passover for so long. How often do you go? Yeah, right, exactly, right? You find things, and sometimes in that small talk, it helps you figure out ways that you can connect to them and add those little pieces of ways to connect to that person. Because we want to work with people who we like and we connect to. So, you want them to like you. Now, in some instances, it may not be that they like you. I'm going to tell you, you want them to like you. In this group, you'll want them to like you, okay? Sometimes, you don't care if they like you, but you want them to respect you. So the ways we do that is we tell the truth, we're honest, we present ourselves as respectable people, and you support things, right? It's okay. You may not like me as a person, that's fine, but you need to know that I'm a respectable person. And you kind of have to make that decision in the moment. It's sad to say, but you do. When you're talking to them, you have to see maybe this person is a tough nut to crack and they are not going to be friendly and cordial. I don't find that in our industry at all. I find that people actually want to be cordial. It's what we do. So, but if you find out they're not that way and they're just being like stiff-faced, okay, I'm going to show you why I'm a respectable person and why I'm good. I'm honest, I'm truthful, I'm a hard worker, I do the things that I'm supposed to do, and I want you to see that and respect me. Great. And I do that by giving respect, right? All things you can do. So, you put your competence and your character together, that gives you the perception that you are a credible person, you are a credible interviewee, you are going to do a great job. We want those things together, right? We want them. All right, so let's talk about interview. Any questions so far for anything that I've talked about so far before we get into interview questions? All right, so now we're going to talk about how to answer questions. Because this is what's going to make you stand out from somebody else. Most people kind of answer a question and go, I think I answered that. That's it. And you just kind of go, okay. We are not going to be those people. We're going to know exactly how to answer our questions. We're going to use a specific formula for answering our questions, and it's going to make you stand out. Now, I'm going to point to you the thing that's going to make you be different, right? Because remember, we want to be memorable. We want them to remember us, like us. Because if they remember you, they are more likely to hire you. Because at the end of all the interviews, they're going to pull out all those curriculum vitae, all the stuff, and they're going to look at the pile and go, well, what do you remember about this person? What about that? And if they remember you, you're going to the top of the pile. Because they may not remember, the people they don't remember will absolutely go out the pile. I don't remember that person. Not that that person wasn't great. I just don't remember him. I got some notes, but we don't want that. I want to be the person that they remember without the notes. So here's how you do that. So if you get, you hear the question, you're going to start by repeating the question. Why do you want this job? I'm going to pause for a moment and repeat the question. Why do I want this job? I'm buying myself a little time. I'm thinking about the answer, getting myself together. Plus, I want to make sure I actually heard the question correctly. Because a lot of times we answer the wrong question because we just heard something different in our head. And that happens. It's a very nerve-wracking situation. You may have heard a different question, and that's not what they asked. And mostly because it's not simple questions like, why do you want this job? Okay, that's an easy question. When we get to like academic questions, we literally ask people things like, provide an example of an experience that you have that shows that you have worked in ethnically and socioeconomically different situations and diverse student populations. And you're like, what the heck was that? Okay, that was a lot of things. Let me see. Let me repeat that question back to you because I want to make sure I get that answer correctly because that's a lot. Great. Repeat it back because if you got it wrong, then they are going to tell you and correct you. I cannot tell you. I literally interview professors and they answer the question wrong most of the time because they didn't hear it correctly. And we give it to them. It's on a piece of paper in front of them. They're looking at the questions and they still answer them wrong because they're like, is that the question? Repeat it. Make sure you got it because I'll correct you if you don't. They will too. Then after you've repeated the question, because you bought yourself some time there, you are going to answer the question in a one-sentence statement. It's going to be a nice little summary. You're used to this. We're going to write ourselves a nice little thesis statement there. It'll be fantastic. Just a one little summary sentence. Why? Because we need that answer to be succinct and clear and definitive. You want them to know that you knew the answer to the question. I got this. It might be a long sentence, but it's one sentence, and I'm going to answer that. This is also why we practice this and have our answers ready before we go, because it's important. Okay? So you answer with one sentence. Now, here's what's going to make you stand out over the other people. You're going to provide an example that supports the answer you just came up with. Where do these examples come from? Well, first, they're going to come from previous jobs. That's always where you want to go. In my former position, when I was teaching here, I did this. That's your example. You want to give us that. That's the first place. If you do not have a work example, that may happen. For most of you, it might be like student teaching, or maybe you were a tutor or something, whatever. If you don't have it, then you can pull from academic experiences, so in a class, or from some sort of extracurricular activity. You were in a club, you played a sport, you want to do those things. Those are your first two places to pull. If you don't have anything before that, like if you're stuck, you don't have work, you don't have a school, you don't have extracurricular, you don't have an internship or anything like that, then and only then do you pull from your personal life. You need an example. So if you have to pull from personal life, you can, but it needs to be your last place. Why do I not want to pull personal life examples first? Why wouldn't I? Because you probably have some really great things in your personal life. Why would I not give them personal examples? Thoughts? What was that? Bias is very important, absolutely. And they cannot ask you about your personal life. It is none of their dang business. And that has no bearing on how great you're going to be at this job. But if you volunteer that information, now they can use that to decide if they want to hire you or not. So I'm not giving them any of my personal information. None. Because they can't ask it. Legally, they're not allowed to. They cannot ask me if I'm married. They can't ask me how many kids I have. They can't ask me if I've been divorced, if I'm first generation. They can't ask me anything about my family. They can't ask me if I'm poor, have bad credit. None of their dang business. I could have 12 kids, live in a bus, down by the river, and been divorced 5 times. None of their dang business. The only way they're going to know is if I tell them. So don't tell them. We're going to tell them, remember that perception thing? Yeah, we want them to know what we want them to know because that's the perception they should have of us. I'm not volunteering personal information. So unless I have to give a personal example, I'm not going to. Work, school, keep personal life over here. Because if you give them personal information, they will use that. Many of us care for parents, younger siblings, we have other things to do. So if you volunteer that information, they're going to say, oh, that might interfere with your job. No, it won't. I'm being great at my job. And what I use my time off for is my business. I'm not volunteering. I see a question.
how do you deflect a question that you perceive that is personal? If they ask you, are you married?
They can't ask that question, and they won't. You can just say, I don't have to answer that question. Legally, I'm not allowed, legally, you can't ask me that.
If they ask you, then they may be offended, right?
I will tell you this, just so you know. They can't be offended for that.
Okay.
Because by the time you get to interviews for teaching positions, those questions that they ask you have gone through a number of people that have approved those questions.
Okay.
So they cannot ask you if you're married. And they're not going to ask you that question. But they might ask you something like, what is your weakness? Like, what are your greatest weaknesses? And you might say something like, man, I have a hard time waking up in the morning because I got 5 kids and they keep me up at night. That's a personal example. They're not going to ask you a personal question, but you don't want to answer with a personal answer. That's what I meant. You're not going to get personal questions. Now, personal things might come up in conversation. Be like, oh my gosh, I took my daughter to go see a play last night. It was fantastic. Yes. Or you might say, they might say, oh yeah, I went to go see The Lion King. Oh, that's great. I took my family to see that too. I just gave you some personal information. But it was in the conversation. It wasn't in the question they asked. And I chose to volunteer to give that information. But I still didn't give them a number. I didn't say husband, wife. I didn't say number of kids. I just said family. We all got families. That works, right? To do that. So you're providing an example. And then you're going to restate the question. So, I'd say like, oh, okay, why do I want this job? Why do I want this job? I would like to work here because I grew up in the neighborhood down the street from this school. And I understand the unique students here and the situation and the community that is involved, and I desperately want to be back in that community to give back to my community. For example, my Girl Scout troop leader, who I became her co-leader, is from Compton. And I had been a troop leader in many other troops, but having the opportunity to be a troop leader in Compton showed me how important it was for me to be where my family is from, to be where I know. The community was there, the students were different, my girls, it gave me a sense of purpose to be able to give back to the community that gave me so much. And that's why I want to work here. That's why I want this job. This example, they're gonna remember that. Like, oh yeah, she lives here. Oh, she was a Girl Scout troop leader in Compton? That's fantastic. I was, that's a true story, right? Okay, Troop 686. So, important, right? So, here are some things that are really important before we look at the questions. One, remember, you have to keep this in your mind. If you got called in for the interview, you are qualified for the job. Please, 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 please keep that in your mind. They are not gonna bring in somebody who's not qualified. We don't have time for it, okay? The next thing is, brag about yourself. We don't think we should brag about ourselves. But if there was ever a time to be proud and brag about how amazing you are, it's in a job interview. Because that's what you should be doing. And if you don't, the person behind you will, and they will get the job. Because they are not afraid to talk about the amazing things that they've done. You are amazing. That's why you're gonna know your answers before the interview and practice, because sometimes we have difficulty talking about how awesome we are. We do. But when you write them out on paper, you look at it and go, man, I look really good on paper. That's because you are really amazing. And we need to know that. So be okay with bragging about yourself. Oh my God, did you go through all 4 years or 5 years of college and made it on the dean's list every single time? You were on the honor roll? Heck yeah, I graduated magna cum laude. Thank you very much. Brag. Absolutely. Why? Because that makes you better than the person outside. And you do need to be better than them. And you are. But we are afraid to tell people that we are better than somebody else. Because we are ashamed to brag about ourselves. Do not be ashamed to brag about yourself in a job interview. That's how you get the job. They don't know that you did all those awesome things if you don't tell them. So I'm going to tell them. Now, am I going to brag about myself when I'm having drinks with my friends at the bar? No, they don't care. They're also just as awesome as I am. So we're not bragging about ourselves there, right? I'm also not bragging about myself at Thanksgiving dinner. Not the time. But when am I bragging? In a job interview. Heck yeah. Because you need to know I'm amazing. Because if I don't, you don't know. You're going to tell that person behind me is going to do it. So you need to tell them you're awesome, okay? Questions so far before we look at the top job interview questions? Okay. So what I'm going to tell you, we're going to go through these and I'm going to give you some tips on how to answer them. So if you have not been taking notes, now is your time to take notes because you want the secrets to these answers, to these questions. And I do this because I want you to understand the purpose behind the question. Oftentimes we don't know why they would ask that question, so we answer it incorrectly. So you didn't know. I'll make sure to give somebody this. Somebody can share it. You have all the slides. Don't worry about the questions. Also, these questions, literally Glassdoor.com. These are the top 50 interview questions as from Glassdoor, and these are from 2022, I think. They do update the list every so often. These are 2022 questions. They will probably come out with a 2024 at the towards end of 2024. Glassdoor.com is a wonderful website. Get used to it, be familiar, because they get employee data from employees. It's a peer-reviewed site, right? It comes from this. So if I want to know how much a teacher makes in the Compton Unified School District, well, it's public, it's there. But I can also go to Glassdoor and look up teachers, K-12, Compton. And there will be actual stories from teachers in Compton talking about their experience at their school. They will tell you how much they make. They will talk about the good, the bad, the dirty, the ugly, all the things you will know before you go in. So get all that stuff, right? But they also, every so often, go through and talk to people who've been doing job interviews and ask them what questions they were asked. This comes from their polling, and they update the list every few years. These are the top 50 job interview questions across the board. So there are some that will apply more to you than others. We'll talk about some of those things. The first one is, what are your strengths? Now, you need to know that this is a brag about yourself question. There are multiple questions that are about bragging about yourself. What are your strengths? What can you offer us that someone else cannot? There's another one. Tell me about an accomplishment you're most proud of. These are all bragging about yourself questions. So know that if there is a question that is asking you to brag about yourself, they are not going to ask you multiples of them. So if you have the answer to what are your strengths, you do not have to do what can you offer us that someone else cannot. They have the same intention behind them. So if you know the answer to this one, which is why we start up here at the top, if you have this answer, you can use the same thing for what can you offer us that someone else cannot. Same answer. You can absolutely do it. Just change the question. Okay? Anytime you see a question that has an S on it, that means you need to provide more than one. If they're asking you what your strengths, plural, are, you need to give them multiple strengths. Okay? And since it is a brag about yourself question, that means these things should be strengths, and knowing that this is what can you offer us that someone else cannot, that means these should be things that make you unique and special. They make you different from other people. What makes you stand out in those strengths? So they should not be things like, I come to work on time, I always do what my boss asks me to do, I'll stay late if I need to. Y'all, that's not a strength, that's your job. Don't tell me that in a job interview, because that's the job. I'm not impressed if that's your only strength. That's what everybody's supposed to do. I'm not impressed. But you're supposed to be bragging. So what are your strengths? What are you uniquely good at, right? As a speech and debate coach, I always get to brag about strengths. What are my strengths? One, I am a young coach, young-ish, but old enough to have been in the field for a very long time to know what it's like to have, national titles and to coach national winning teams. But I've also had the benefit of coaching in multiple parts of the country. So I understand the national trends of what is winning. So that's a strength. Those are things that make me special and unique. There are not a bunch of other people who have those things. I am unique in that. How am I unique as a speech teacher? Y'all, because I do speech and theater. I'm a speech person with a Master of Fine Art in Acting. That is not everybody, okay? I don't have a comp background, sort of. My bachelor's degree was in speech and theater, but I'm an actress, primarily. I've had an entire career as a public speaker. That's not the same as everybody. When I interviewed here, that was absolutely a strength. Somebody called me a unicorn. I was like, thank you. Yeah, I am. Thanks. That's not something that other people have. So find out what you are uniquely good good at, because you need to have a really good answer. So when they ask this thing with an S, right, you need multiple. My rule is 3. If you see an S, you need to give them 3. So I'm going to list 3 strengths, but I'm only going to give an example for 1. 3 strengths, 1 example. That's important because if they ask me, what can you offer us that someone else cannot? I got that 1 strength that I have that has the example. Oh man, I'm ready for that question just in case they ask me that one instead. Okay? I can still brag about myself. I got it. And I'm going to type the answer for both. I'm going to write these out and type my answers and practice them so I know how to do it. The next one I have is, what are your weaknesses? This is a tricky question. It's a trick question. It really is. Because when they ask this, you need to understand that what they're looking for. They're looking to see that you know you're not perfect. Because you're not. But we never leave them with negative connotations of us. So I'm always going to tell them how I'm working on improving said weakness. I don't care if you aren't. Lie. Make it up. Tell us you are working on improving that weakness. Because I need to know that you are working on that. And notice it says weaknesses plural. That means you need more than 1. You need 3. This is not a question you should come up with the answer in the moment. You need to have thought about this one. Because there are wrong answers to this question. I'm going to tell you the wrong answers so you don't give them. Number 1 wrong answer. I don't have any weaknesses. And wrong answer. I don't want that. Because if you don't have any weaknesses, that means that A, you're lying to yourself. B, you are completely self-unaware. Right? Or C, you really think you don't have any weaknesses, and frankly, I don't want any of those people working for me. That's not a person I want to work with, right? Because you have weaknesses. And every year I'm going to have to evaluate you and assess you and tell you, here are the things you should be working on. And you need to be a person who says, I understand, thank you so much. Yes, I will work on those. I want to improve that. Just because it's your job, and I want to keep my job, so I'm going to say, yes, I'm going to work on those. Thank you so much. So I'm going to show you that I'm a person who understands I have weaknesses, and I'm going to work on them by telling you I'm working on those weaknesses. Okay. Example, what are your weaknesses? My weaknesses are time management, working with deadlines, and what was the last one I have? And ability to complete tasks. For example, my time management issues are that, when I have a project, I get really sucked into it. I really like to focus, and I get so excited about all the things on the project. I learn new things, and it's just great. And because I get so sucked into that, I often miss the deadline. Because I was like, oh, it's so great, but wait, I had to finish it? Darn. So what I'm doing to work on that is I actually give myself an earlier deadline than I need to, and I provide myself check-ins with other people where I have to present those things. Because I know I'm going to wait until the last minute to finish that thing that I need to check in, and that's okay. Because I had to check in at the 1-month mark, and I had to check in at the 2-month mark. So by the time I get to that 3-month check-in, I've already completed all those things, and I'm ready. So, and my deadline that I set for myself is going to be a week to 2 weeks before it's actually done. So that way I know that I'm going to have the time to procrastinate a little bit and still get it done. And that's what I'm doing to work on my weaknesses. I look great. I not have problems, right? But you know what I'm doing. Am I actually doing that? Probably not. It's okay. It's one of the few places it's okay to lie, okay? So, but here's another wrong answer. I'm a perfectionist. Wrong answer. And wrong answer. Why? Because that's the weakness, that's a strength. So I don't care if it is your weakness, you need to pick another one. So when we talked about perception, yeah, the perception of you giving me that answer is me thinking you gave me that answer because you think that's the answer I want to hear. Because it's a weakness, it's not a weakness. And are there people who are actually perfectionists? Yes. And I guarantee you there's at least one in this room, if not 2 or 3. Okay? You probably are. And it is a weakness, but it is also a strength. And everybody who's a perfectionist, yes, nobody is going, shame on you. Yeah, it's bad, but you think it sounds good. So if you tell me that, I'm going to think you just made that up because you want me to think you don't have any weaknesses. No, you do have weaknesses. Don't tell me you're a perfectionist. It's the wrong answer. Pick something else. I don't care if they're not right. Just pick something else. But I will say that it is important that these have some shred of truth to them. Maybe not in how you're working on fixing them, but what your weaknesses are. So spend some time thinking about that and really come up with a nice, educated way to say it. Because remember, job interviews are if they want to work with you. So I need to know if the weakness that you have is something I can deal with as your supervisor. Okay? I don't like when students are late to my class. I start class like 5 minutes after. I give you 5 minutes. After that, we're starting class. Why? We got a bunch of stuff to do, so I'm doing that. And my classes are participation based. You come to class and give a speech every single class. So if you're late, you may have missed your opportunity to give your assignment. I can't handle late. I cannot handle tardiness. It does not work for me. One of my friends, Marshall, that woman has never been on time to anything in her life. Not at all. Not one time. She is late to work at least 15, 20 minutes every single day. It's probably going to be more like 30. She's always late. But she has never turned in a project or assignment late, ever. She will work through her lunch break. She will stay late. She will make extra. She will go above and beyond to make sure her projects are never submitted late. So, if she's interviewing somebody to be her assistant, if that person's weakness is ability to do things on time, to like arrive on time, if they're late every day, she will hire that person because she can work with that. She's like, I don't care if you're late every day. I'm going to be late too. Great. I'll see you when we get there. Let's go to lunch together. We'll eat lunch at our desks and work through. It's fine. That does not bother her. Me, on the other hand, absolutely not. I cannot hire that person. And that's okay, because you don't want to work for me if you're a person who's late every day, because it's going to drive me crazy, and my face doesn't hide much. So you'll know, and you'll be like, dang, my boss is mad at me. Yeah, I am, because you were late like 20 minutes today, and every day. I can't do it. But she cannot handle somebody who turns in assignments late. You cannot complete your projects late for her. That does not work. If that is your weakness, that is not going to work for her. I've been a teacher so long, it doesn't matter to me. I know students have issues, life comes up, there's things. If you need an extra day or two to complete the assignment, okay, let me know, I'll give you the extra day or two. That's fine. Now don't make a habit out of that, but I will give it to you. I have grace, I understand. Her, no. So there should be some shred of truth in your weaknesses, because I need to know if I can handle those. And remember, not a bad thing. These are not judgment calls. It's if you can, if you're right for the job. That's what we're looking for, right? Okay. The next one is, why are you interested in working for this company? Why do you want to work at this school? What do you, why do you want this job, essentially, right? Those things. This is very specific for us as educators. This is not, why do I want to be a teacher? This is, why do I want to teach English at Renaissance High School in Long Beach, California? And your answer needs to be specific to that. I like to use the example, I talk about, I had a student who, I always use the example of like working at a shoe store. If you're applying to work at the Vans shoe store, you don't need to tell them why you love shoes. Vans are a very particular type of athletic shoe. I'm not putting on a pair of Vans to go run a marathon. That's not what it is. But Vans are very involved in skater culture. So if I like Vans, I need to talk about why I like Vans, not why I'm a sneakerhead. Not the same thing. It needs to be specific to that. So make your answer specific to the school that you are applying for. Does that mean I will need to change the answer to this question? Yes, you will. And you should. You should change it for every single interview you go on. It is different. Every school is uniquely different. Every class, everything. Change it every time. My answer to this question is different every single place I interview at. So change it. Okay. Where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years? This is a really unique question. Remember, it's not about your personal life. So if they ask you this question, which by the way, it's number 4 on the list, which I'm very surprised by. But if they ask you this question, that means they're expecting you to be here in 5 or 10 years. Okay? So things you don't want to say in that. I'm not talking about anything personally in this. I'm not saying that I hope to be married and have a family. Nope, not telling you that. None of your darn business. Plus, I can't really type that out. I don't know if you're going to get married. Who knows? The stars know. I don't know. Nobody knows when you're going to actually get married or have kids. You hope, but it's not going to happen. You can't really plan that. Okay? But they do want to know if you are invested in this place. Especially as educators, they do not want you to leave next year. That's hard. Turnover is hard. I don't want to rehire somebody else next year. So if you talk about 5 or 10 years, right, you don't want to talk about anything like, and this is just, I don't think this is anybody here, but you don't want to say, I want to start my own business. I want to open my own school for insert kids. Nope, you don't want to do that. That's competition. Do not ever tell them in an interview that you are going to be their competitor at some point. Bad idea. And in this one of those that you should also fudge. If you're asking me about where I want to be in 5 or 10 years, I guarantee you my answer is going to have something to do with being at this place that I'm interviewing for, in some capacity. And I'm going to say, you know what, in 5 years, I would really love to see myself still being here, having grown, having more leadership opportunities, more supervisory experience, and more opportunities to grow as an educator, to increase in my opportunity to maybe mentor other teachers so that they can grow. Right? Yeah, that's it. Always I see myself here in 5 or 10 years, growing. Always. I don't care if your goal is to open your own school. Maybe you want to move to Honduras, open a school for the kids there. Great, that's fantastic. Don't tell them that, because that means you're going to leave them and they don't want to hire that person. Don't tell them. Okay? Why do you want to leave your current company? We do these wrong sometimes. They will ask you this question, and a lot of times people will badmouth their employer in this question. Do not do that. I don't care if the school you teach at currently has the worst principal ever, the parents are horrible, you work more than you get paid, you never get time off. I am not bad-mouthing this job. I'm not. Because if I badmouth this in this interview, they know that I'm going to badmouth the job that I'm going to get. I'm not doing that. Always talk about what you want to see happen in the future in this question. Why are you leaving? Why do I want to leave my current job? I'm really looking forward to being in a place that allows me to work with students who I can have more of an impact on, that they see themselves reflected in me. I really want to be in a place where I have the opportunity to have more professional development and grow, and potentially grow not just in learning, but also in financial compensation. Okay, that means in my previous job, I had kids that were not cool, it didn't work, right, and I wasn't making enough money. Great, but I didn't badmouth them. I talked about what I'm looking forward to in this upcoming job. Always what you expect, not what happened before. Okay. This question doesn't get asked a lot, but it's here, so you need to know how to do it. They're not going to ask you this question. Why is there a gap in your employment? It's just a popular question because people do that. So I'm going to tell you what the trick is for that. Your own easy way to not get asked that question is on your resume, put related job experience. So when they ask you that question, your answer can be, oh, you know what, I was employed during that time, it just wasn't related to the position that I'm applying for, so I didn't list it on the resume. And you're done. Moving on to the next question. You don't have to explain why you weren't working for a period of time. If you want to tell them it's because you went back to school to get your education, that's a great answer. You can absolutely say that. It shows that you're ready. But for a lot of people, especially because I spent all that time working with mothers who had taken time off and then were returning to the workforce, why have you not been working for the last 6 years? Well, because childcare is ridiculously expensive in this country. And it was cheaper for me to not work for 6 years and stay home with my kids than for me to go to work and give more than my salary to childcare, to preschool. That's the wrong answer. That's the real answer. But the answer is, oh, this is only related job experience. I had some other jobs. I took a period where I went to work in a different industry, and I just missed this industry so much that I'm looking forward to getting back. That's it. Never need to explain anything else, right? No, none of their business. Okay. What can you offer us that someone else cannot? We talked about that one. You're going to use one of your strengths from question 1. Great. And brag about yourself. What are 3 things your former manager would like you to improve upon? I hate this question because this assumes that your former manager actually told you what you need to improve upon. And most of the time, we don't get that. If you're at a place where they actually gave you some feedback, okay, yay, that's lucky, but you may not want to tell them that. Just use one of your weaknesses, use the weakness answer. Because it says things, plural, which means you need to have multiple things to talk about. But these 2 questions, what are your weaknesses and former manager improve upon, yeah, those have the same connotation, like the same meaning behind them, so they will not ask you both questions. So feel free to use your answer for the weaknesses for both, because they're not going to ask you both. So pick it and just give it that. Okay? Remember, most important thing with this question, do not leave them with the negative connotation. Always tell them how you're working on improving them. Never leave them with the thing that your manager says you suck at. Always tell them what you're doing to improve that. Okay? Are you willing to relocate and are you willing to travel? And I noticed I put post-COVID because this is important. Those two things are important, and you have to, they don't fit the format. Those are yes or no questions. They're yes or no. And you need to answer them honestly. Because if they are asking you those questions, that means they are expecting you to travel or to relocate. And travel does not mean LA County, Orange County, Inland Empire. No, travel means you're getting on a plane and flying somewhere else in the country. Relocating doesn't mean will you move to Orange County. Relocating means are you going to move to Wyoming? Okay? So if you're not willing to, say no, because that's not the job for you. Because while they may not ask you to relocate immediately, they might relocate you within 6 months or a year, and then you're going to end up leaving. You're like, oh, but I don't want to. Now you've lost your job because you said you could relocate. Just tell them no. Unfortunately, I'm unable to relocate at this time. I'm very centered in Southern California. My business is here, my job is here, my family is here, and unfortunately, I'm unable to relocate to a different location at this time. Thank you so much. The interview's over. Have a nice day. Bye. Because I'm not working here, right? You just know that. That's okay. Just tell the truth. All right. Is that a question? Yes.
Well, one of the questions, do you brag about yourself with what you offer us? Or?
Yeah, use your strengths. Use the strengths. Because it's the same answer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a brag about yourself. What can you offer us that someone else cannot? I hope that your strengths are things that other people can't offer. Because remember, you're going to spend some time thinking about why you are unique and you're different and special. So that should be what I can offer that other people can't. Same question. Just you're gonna repeat it differently. But I'm gonna give the same answer. Yeah, same. Good question. All right, this one. Tell me about an accomplishment you are most proud of. I'm going to tell you this is the one of the few places I will say it's okay to include something personal here. Within reason, right? Okay. I'm not gonna say like I'm so proud of myself because I was able to like graduate because I had 6 kids and I was taking care of my parents because my dad was diagnosed with cancer and I did my 6 kids and took care of my dad and that was great. No, I'm not telling them all that. None of their business. But what is an accomplishment you're most proud of? I'm super proud of the fact that I was the very first person in my family to graduate from college, both undergrad and get a graduate degree. Not because that makes me think that I'm special, but that means that I opened the door for other people in my family to do it. I was the first person to do it, but not the last. I have many cousins who have gone on to go graduate with their bachelor's degree, graduate degrees. I have one cousin who's in school right now to be a doctor of radiology. I was just the first person to do it. I showed everybody that they could, and I'm very proud of that. My mom comes from a very big family. For me to be the first person to do that made both sides of my family very proud. I'm super proud of that. That's it. I'm okay with that. I didn't tell them anything super personal, but that is a personal thing, and I'm very proud of that accomplishment. Still to this day, right? And I go to everybody's graduation because I want them to know I'm proud of what they did. You can do something like that. You can talk about education, you can talk about achievements. A lot of people will say things like, and it's funny that that's my accomplishment, not my 4 national titles and my 3 state titles and my, 20 so national titles as a coach. No, not that. That says something about me because my resume has all of those awards on it. You can see them on my CV. But I'm very proud that I led that. That says something. Now, would I choose? That's the answer I'm choosing. Could I choose to brag about all the things that I won? Yes, it's based on the perception you want to have. As an educator, I am absolutely going to pick the question that talks about education. I'm going to pick the answer about education. That's the perception I want. If I'm somewhere else, when I was a corporate trainer, that was not my answer. My answer was all of my awards. Because in the corporate world, that matters. So yeah, I listed all of those titles. Proud. Okay. Education? We're talking about education. Okay. Tell me about a time you made a mistake. This is one of those negative connotation questions. So remember, you always talk about how you worked on fixing it or what you learned. You never want to leave them with something that's negative. So if they're asking you about a mistake, it means you need to tell them a mistake you made. And that could be from school or work. But you also need to tell us what you learned or how you're fixing that. It should not be, when I was a kid, I was running super fast and I didn't see that tree and I ran into it and I ended up with like a thing on my head and that's why I got this stuff. That's not a mistake we're looking for. We're looking at how you learned from academics or career or or something that taught you how to shoot. And always tell us what you learned. The mistake that I made was, I think the mistake that I made was choosing to transfer schools in the middle of my education. Right? I was already a theater and speech major, which meant I was going to be on the long-term plan, but transferring schools meant I absolutely was on the 5-year plan. It slowed me down a bit. And I learned that, sometimes we have to focus. Could I have stayed where I was? Yeah, I could have stayed and I would have finished. And would have been less money in student loans. And so I learned that sometimes it's better to do an assessment of what you would like to have, what your outcome is, and decide what the return on your investment is, right? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? Just be a little more confident, spend a little more time thinking 2 or 3, 4 steps down the road so that you don't make the same decision. And if I had thought, maybe 2 or 3 steps down the road, maybe I would not have made that choice. And that's a mistake that I learned, or that a mistake that I made, right? Okay. Remember, always what you learned or what you're doing. What is your dream job? Anybody, what's your dream job? Honestly, tell me the truth. What's your dream job?
Job.
What was that? The job you're what?
I said the job I'm interviewing for.
No, wrong answer. But you're on the right track. Honestly, what's your dream job? Anybody?
No job.
Mine is to host a travel show. I would love to host a travel show. I love to travel. I get antsy when I haven't been on a plane or traveling somewhere. I'm an Army brat, so I pretty much was born on an airplane. So I love traveling. I get, if I haven't been, COVID was hard for me. Because I was like, I can't travel. Oh, it's so bad. Really hard. Super hard, right? So I love to travel. Dream job, host a travel show. Still hoping that's out there, right? But honestly, that's probably not going to happen. Outside of that, it's the job I have now. But that's me. That's honestly. If I was applying to work at, my first job, which was I worked at the Gap. Okay? That was not my dream job, y'all. And realistically, your first job is not your dream job. It's not gonna be. I'm gonna crush that for you. I'm sorry. I told you this wasn't the first university I taught at. It wasn't. Okay? I finished my MFA, I think I was 26 when I finished my MFA. I got this job when I was 39. That's how long it took me to get to my dream teaching position. Okay. Realistically, you are not going to get your dream job right out of school. I'm gonna break it to you. It's just not gonna happen. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick a job that you like and you don't hate. And you're gonna learn everything you can from that job and move to one that you hate less and you like more. And that pays you more money. And you will eventually get there. Statistically, it is unlikely that you will find a job that's your dream job right out of school. It's not likely, especially not in this environment. And that doesn't mean that I want to discourage you. It means it's coming. I'm proof. Many of us are proof that you get there. But you have to learn from every position that you get. So is your dream job going to be the first school that you teach at, or the first school you get? Probably not. I'm just going to be honest. And even if it sounds like it's your dream job, when you get in it, it ain't going to be the dream job. You're going to find all the problems in there, right? You're going to want to go somewhere else. So you don't ever say that. Don't say, this is my dream job. Did I say that when I got here? Yes. They didn't ask me that question because it's kind of a question to ask in an education. But you talk about the components of the job that you are applying for that match up with the components of your dream job. So I'm never going to say that my dream job is to host a travel show, even though it is. I would say, you know what? If I were able to have my dream job would allow me to have some sort of public speaking component. I really enjoy public speaking. It's been something I've done for a long time. I love doing it. It just is a passion of mine. Also, it would allow me the chance to interact with people. I love meeting new people. I love talking to people. I love engaging with different types of people. And it's just something I just have always loved to do. And pie in the sky, if my dream job, if I was allowed to have it, it would allow me to travel as well. And I see those components in this job, right? This is a job that allows me to be an educator and teach people. And it's in public speaking. It's fantastic. I love speech. It also gives me the opportunity to work with a bunch of different types of students with different backgrounds. Our campus, this university, is one of the most diverse campuses in the country, right? We award more degrees to African Americans than any other school west of the Mississippi. We have a large Hispanic serving institution. Our population, our students, we're something like 60-something% Latinx, which which is wonderful, and I enjoy that. We also have a really decent Asian American AAPI community. In fact, our school is one of the only campuses that has an Asian American Pacific Islander degree. Other schools are just Asian American studies. So I love this. I love that diversity. And pie in the sky, if I got to travel, you know, the cool thing about this job is it actually does give me the opportunity to travel every so often. I get to travel to go to speech and debate tournaments. I get to travel to present. I get to travel to go to conferences. It's just a really great opportunity. And that is what I think my dream job would entail. I didn't say that this is my dream job, but they got the impression that there are some things here that I'd like. You might have to get creative with that answer, finding those components. But find them. It's the components until you get to the actual one. You are not going to really get this for a while. What would you like to accomplish in the first 30, 60, 90 days on the job? You are not likely to get this question. This is an upper level question. This is an administrator question. So you will not get this. Because what are they going to ask? What are you going to do in your first 30 days on the job? I'm going to do some lesson plans and teach. You're not going to get a different answer from me. Yes, we're all going to give the same thing. That's stupid. What am I doing in 90 days? Grading papers and teaching? That's it. We do the same thing. That's not a question you're going to get. But if this is the case, you want to be strategic. When you get to that point, have something that's strategic about that particular place that you'd like to see and help grow. It's never that there's something bad. It's always going to be about how you want to see things grow and improve and learn, always those things, right? All right, here's weak questions. These are really weak questions. If somebody asks you this, you know, one, HR didn't approve it, and two, they don't do interviews a lot because they don't know what to ask you, okay? Describe your resume, discuss your educational background, describe yourself. Yeah, if you get any of those, brag about yourself. Please see question 1, your strengths, okay? That's your answer. Just rephrase it for any of those. Because why am I discussing my resume? You read it, it's the same. I went to school, I had some jobs. That's silly. If they ask you to discuss your resume, you can just say, you know, one of the highlights of my resume was when I got the opportunity to teach at XYZ, or I got to do this thing for this school. Yeah, that's it. You don't need to talk about everything. That's really boring. We don't need that. You don't waste time, right? Educational background. I got one. I have the required education for this job. Thank you. Next question, right? There's nothing. I mean, if you want to on the educational background, you can highlight the good things you did. Like I graduated magna cum laude, summa cum laude. I was the president of the, Educators of Future America Club, whatever, right? Highlight that stuff, but don't waste your time doing all that. Describing yourself, that is not what your personal life is like. That's where you talk about your pedagogy, how you like teaching, what you learned that you love about certain student groups, all work stuff. Keep it short, because that's a weak question, and you're like, okay, I've got other things to talk about. Okay? Tell me about a time that you handled a difficult situation. And I'm going to tell you, one, this is one of those questions where you need to show what you learned from it. We're not going to leave it, because difficult situation is a negative connotation. So you're certainly not going to leave them with, this was a difficult situation for me. Ooh, it was tough. You also might want to create a situation that may appear difficult to other people, but was not really difficult for you. Because you killed that. You nailed it. You're like, oh, I did that right. Great. It wasn't difficult. But it works for the answer. Yeah, remember, we want to look good. So you can do that, okay? But also, it was a difficult situation. I had to do this. I learned that I should do this in the future. Easy. That's it. And feel free to make it something that wasn't a difficult situation for you, but it fits the answer. Sometimes you got to fudge a little bit. Why should we hire you? Please see answer 1. Question 1. What are your strengths? Same thing. What can you offer us that someone else cannot? Same question. Same thing. Use your same answers. Don't kill yourself. Come up with new answers. That's it. That's a brag about yourself question. Tell us how awesome you are and why we give you the job. Great. I'm going to tell you this. See your strengths and talk about that. Are you good? Okay. Why are you looking for a new job? We've answered this one, right? That's why are you trying to leave your current place of employment? Why are you looking for a new job? All that stuff. Just tell me what you're looking forward to in the new one. Same answer as the other one. How would you work holidays or weekends? This is not a question that requires the format. This is a yes or no question. No, I am not willing to work holidays or weekends at this time. Thank you so much. And that's it, right? It's not you. Now, if a school asks you that, that means, like for me, As a speech and debate coach, if I say no to weekends, I'm not getting the job. We never have tournaments that are not on a weekend. They're always on a weekend. Why? Because we don't want people missing class. So if they ask you that, you gotta say yes. Now, usually what I would say is, I do not want to make it a regular occurrence to work every weekend, because I like to have time to be able to be with my family and have time to decompress and remove myself from the job so that I have a moment to be better for the job, right? I need a time to rest, relax, to become empty. However, I do understand that as a team player, there might be some times that I need to work on a weekend or I need to work on holiday. So I would be happy to step in and do my part and work as a part of the team that will take turns to work weekends or holidays, because that's what's necessary. That's it. But I made it very clear that I'm not trying to work here every weekend. Don't ask me. Yes.
That's Messenger Flow. There was a previous question on the
Yeah.
last one. How did you hear about this position?
Oh, I forgot that. Wait, no, with the. There you go. Thank you for asking me that. I forgot that one. How did you hear about this position? You can be honest. It's a great. I'm glad you asked that. You know, you can answer with the format, but it's not necessary because you don't need to provide an example, right? But talk about it. How did you hear about this position? Particularly if you learn about it from somebody who works there. I totally just use this. I applied to be a part of this like like minority leadership club and thing, and they said, "How did you hear about this?" My best friend Patricia is on the board. She told me about it and thought I would be a great candidate to be a part of this program. Yeah, I absolutely name dropped her. It's very important. They need to know that's why I'm there. Because if somebody who's on the board said that they thought I'd be good for this position, oh, you should know that I'm gonna brag about that because I should be there. That's the only reason why. Now, if it was, you know, I heard about it on Indeed. Okay, tell the truth. That's how you heard about it. It's fine. But if I got a connection, I'm mentioning my connection. Please do, right? Because then that means you, not only does that mean that that person thought you would be good at the job, it also shows that you know what you're getting into, right? You didn't hear about it online and go, oh, I think I might be good for this. Nah, you know, your friend gave you the dirt. You know what you're getting into. So that's a great one. I'm glad you asked that thing. Did I miss it? How would you deal with an angry or irate customer? Switch out customer and put parent. Absolutely there, right? And talk about this, right? You need to have a plan for how you would deal with an angry parent. It happens all the time. In some communities, more than others. Okay. My sister-in-law is a pediatrician, and one of my former Girl Scouts is a pediatrician now. So she met with my sister-in-law to talk about what to do when they, you know, she was like, I'm looking for jobs, what do you think? And my sister-in-law said, you should be warned. While you will make more money in like Orange County, it is going to be a very hard job to do. Why? Because parents will annoy you and ask you questions every single time. It's time for your child's flu shot. Why? Why do they need a flu shot? You know, I read an article on Facebook that said that the flu shot caused autism, and so I just don't think it's a good idea. I'm like, lady, it's a flu shot. We tested it. It doesn't cause autism. I have all the scientific research. It's really hard. My sister-in-law said, hey, well, when I first started working in pediatrics, I worked in South Central. Zero parents questioned. They trusted that she was a doctor and she knew what she was talking about. Different communities will give you different things. They have different challenges and different rewards. So know what to do when you're dealing with the parent who's upset. Figure out how you're going to deal with that. You should know ahead of time. And then don't be afraid to say, I'm happy to let you speak to the principal or the assistant principal. That is absolutely okay. Why? Because it's their job to deal with that. They get paid more money to be an administrator and handle that. So if you've done everything that you can and it still does not solve their problem, then say, you know what, I'm sorry that we couldn't find a solution. Can we schedule a meeting with, you know, the vice principal or somebody to do that? Now make sure the vice principal's on your side, right? But in an interview, yeah, I'm absolutely gonna rely on my administrators to help me out. Because sometimes you need that. And they're gonna trust, they're like, oh, you know that you can call for help and that you trust us. Yep, I sure do. Plus that's outside my pay grade. Okay. Salary requirements. They should not ask you, so the rule used to be that they would not talk to you about salary in your first interview, it would be in a second interview. People are breaking that rule now. They ask you a lot of times, how much do you expect to make in your first one? Okay. Now, here's what's cool. If you're applying to teach in a public school, that information is public knowledge. Look at it online. You can find it out in the school district, for the city, how much I make from my position, you can find it online. Public knowledge. I work for the state of California. My husband is an attorney for the county of Los Angeles. You can find out how much money he makes, literally. Baldwin County, you can find all the county employee salaries. It's public knowledge. So you should know what those positions pay. If they somehow did not list it, most times now they list a range and tell you that. But if you don't see it there, you can't find it from the county or the school district, go on Glassdoor and find out. You should know. And it's important that you do that. If they ask you your salary requirements, please give them a range. Don't say, I need to make $47,000, that's not right. They did a study and said you need to make at least $65,000 to live in California. So you'd be like, I need to make, I need $65,000. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that. I would say, my salary range is between $64,500 and $67,000. Because they're probably gonna give you $64,500. But I'm gonna negotiate and say, that I got another offer that offered me, 66. Would you be, but I really wanna work here. Would you be willing to come up to 65? And I got some bargaining power, right? But always make sure that your range is something that makes sense. You can't offer something that's outside of what they're actually going to be able to pay you, right? We get people who come here and they want to work in California and they say, what are your salary requirements? We never ask that, by the way, because the salary is posted. They're like, I need to make $100,000 a year. I'm so sorry, this job is not for you. We don't pay our professors $100,000 a year. That's not in the range. I'm so sorry. And I know it's expensive to live in California, but that's not what you're going to make. Here's the range. So make sure it's something that makes sense, right? Pick the range. And then give me a time where you went above and beyond the requirements of a project. People get this wrong all the time. All the time. Because they give me some regular project and that they went above and beyond. Y'all, this is the biggest of the brag about yourself questions. Because this shows that you did the most, that you were extra. I went above and beyond, above and like this thing. This is not, my professor said I had to do this project and I turned it in a day early. That's not above and beyond, okay? If they ask you this, they really want to know a time where you did extra, extra, extra. So find a time where you did the extra of the extra of the extra, right? So my position as like a chair for the Kennedy Center, I've been the chair. One of the things that I've done that is above and beyond, we don't do a lot of fundraising. We just spend the money that comes in. What did I do? I created a sponsorship package. So we actually have sponsors who give us money in order to have access to our students at our festival. And our students benefit from it. So who are our sponsors this year? Disney, Princess Cruises. We have four for-profit universities who are coming and giving us money in order to have access to our students. Not only is that good for our students because they have access, they're auditioning for jobs for Disney. They're auditioning for jobs with Princess Cruises. Awesome, wonderful, we love that. In addition to that, Princess Cruises gave $3,000. Nobody's ever given us the money. That's chump change to them, but for us, that's great because nobody's ever given us a sponsorship package. And they're a gold star sponsor. So we made money off of people. Is that above and beyond? Heck yeah, I'm like the 20th chair of this program, and I'm the only person who thought to ask people to give us money. I'm so proud of myself, that's great, thanks. That's above and beyond. I didn't have to do that. Nobody told me I had to raise money for us. They just said you gotta do this thing. Brag about yourself. Pick something that's above and beyond. Okay. Competitors, you should not get this question. There's no competitors for school. They might ask you about other districts or something, but you don't have competitors. Who's your competitor? Not going to school? Legally, they have to. If they don't go to school, they will get picked up by truancy officers. Their parents will get in trouble. There's no competitors. So, but if you ever get a non-school educator question and they ask competitors, please know who their competitors are. Remember, I used the Vans example. A competitor for Vans is not Nike. That's not a competitor, right? Who might be, right? You might want to look at like Adidas or like other shoes there's some independent shoe brands that are skater culture. You are not going to pick Nike, not a competitor, right? Biggest failure. You know what? I would say this is that question that you made a mistake. Use the same answer. You can talk about a weakness and use those answers. This question is tough because it asks what's your biggest failure. And people think it has to be something that's really big. most of us are not making huge failures like that. So use something that was a mistake you made. You're like, my biggest failure was that I did this thing. That's your mistake question. It doesn't have to be the biggest. Don't be worried about that term. Just pick something that was a failure or something you didn't achieve that you wanted to do. And what you did to learn from it or how you're improving, always leave them with something positive, not something negative. I love this motivates you question. It's a fantastic question. Because if they ask you that question, it means they want to know what actually motivates you. What gets you going? What keeps you wanting to do your job? That's a really important thing. We are all motivated by different things. You may be motivated by money. Nothing wrong with that. I grew up in a poor family. I absolutely want to be compensated. And you give me a pat on the back and saying, good job, is not going to help me if you're not giving me a raise. Sorry, I'm not motivated by the pat on the back saying good job. That does not work for me. Words of affirmation ain't going to make me do better at my job. Please tell me you're going to pay me more money. I would like an increase. If you're going to promote me, great. That promotion better come with money. I don't want an increase in responsibility without an increase in pay. So talk about what your motivations are. Maybe your motivation is your family. There's another question that says, like, what gets you up in the morning? They are not asking that it's your alarm clock. Right? I play the theme song to Downton Abbey on my phone every morning to get me up. Like, that's my alarm. That's not what they're looking for, right? They want to know what motivates you. So be honest. Like, I'm motivated by the idea of success, which some people are. I want to be successful, and that motivates me. Because they want to know that when you hit low points, what can they do to get you going? And if it means like, hey, we're just really close, you're so close to getting that raise, great, thank you so much. I want to know that. Why do I want tenure? Because that means I'm getting an increase in salary. Why do I want to be a full professor? Because it means I'm going to make more money. Yes, thank you for the motivation. That's what I'm saying. Okay? These two questions are not, the availability and the mentor question, not necessary to follow the format. What's your availability? I can work Monday through Friday during the school year. Great. If it's something else, like let's say you were taking an extra job and you want to work at Disneyland over the breaks, whatever, on the weekends. Yeah, your availability better include weekends and holidays if you want to work at a theme park. You are not getting Christmas off at Disneyland. Don't even ask. Not gonna happen. I don't want to work weekends. Sorry, you're not getting this job. You gotta work weekends instead, right? So just know that whatever your availability is should match the job you're applying for. Who is your mentor? We don't all have them. If you don't have a mentor, it's okay to say, I didn't have a direct mentor, but somebody who had a big influence on me was one of my professors in my department, or I've always been motivated by this person who has shown, maybe you're like, I don't know, I had students who were always talking about Oprah and joking crazy. Oprah is just a great, she was a great influence on me. I love, the things that she said, and watching her career was a good way for me to model what I want to do with my career. That's fine, that's totally okay. Notice this is all the way down the list, not like we get asked out. This is one I do want to talk about that's important. Tell me about a time when you disagree with your boss. This is where you lie. Because you're going to tell me about a time you disagree with your boss. But you know what you learned from that situation? That your boss was right. I don't care if your boss was dead wrong. You always listen to what your boss tells you to do. Nobody wants to hire an employee who's going to tell them in the interview that they're not going to do what their boss tells them to do. Sorry. You can disagree. Okay. Quick example, I had a student who used this. Her example was that she worked at Panda Express in Nashville. She was a shift leader, not a manager, shift leader. In Nashville, when it snows, the whole city shuts down. We don't have snow plows to cover the whole city. If it starts snowing, you better get home before it gets dark, or else there's going to be a ton of accidents. The roads are going to be slippery and icy. It's just not good. So she was working one night, and she was there. There was no manager. It was just her, the shift leader, and a couple of employees, right? It started to snow. She knows what's coming when it starts to snow. She calls the manager. Hey, it's starting to snow. I would like to send the employees home and close the restaurant because if I don't, we're all going to be trapped and it's going to be terrible. We're not going to make it home safe. Can I close the restaurant? Manager says no. She disagreed with them because she thinks we should go home. I agree with her too, but the manager didn't. And so she was like, I disagree with her. So I sent everybody home and closed the restaurant. We weren't going to get any business anyway. Nobody's going to come with the snow. That was her answer. We changed it. Her answer that she uses in the job interview now is, I realized that what I was looking at was like employee satisfaction and safety, and my boss was looking at the restaurant and maintaining, stability with how it is open and the business and making sure that we are available to make money and keep the business sustainable. While I disagreed with my boss, I realized that the smart thing to do was to do what my boss was requesting and make sure that the restaurant stayed open. So in order to find a compromise, I sent the other employees home and I stayed at the restaurant so that the restaurant could stay open in case we had any customers. Because I realized in the end that my boss was right. Just change it. You're just always going to do what your boss tells you to do, even if your boss was wrong. And I've had some examples where the boss was dead wrong. I've had some where like students were in medicine. Yeah, your boss was wrong. However, you cannot disagree with your attending. You cannot disagree with your boss. So just get the okay? How do you handle pressure? You might actually get this one because it is applicable to our field. So you need to figure out a way that you handle it. And you should take some advice from like people who are in therapy or a psychologist. They have to have that. They always get asked this question. You need to have a way that shows what your process is for decompressing, getting rid of stress, and handling self-care. And it should not be that I go home and have a glass of wine every day. Particularly because we're educators. Not a good idea. It should be that you make sure that you balance out your work-life balance. You make sure you have time to take care of self. You maybe go to therapy. I go to the gym. I do yoga, right? I read books that help calm me. I like to color. Whatever that is, you need to talk about how you handle the pressure. And you say, like, in the moment, I have a moment to sit and decompress and process it before I provide an answer. But in the grand scheme of things, I know that there are lots of pressures and stresses that come with this job. So I've already started implementing things that handle self-care to allow me to face those when I need to, so that I don't automatically, jump out at somebody when things are tough. Okay, happens. Career goals are important. If they ask you, remember, it does not include opening your own business, starting your own school. Your goals should always be something with that current school. Maybe you want to be an administrator. You want to go back and get your, a doctorate or something. Those are all fine. Pick those. It's great. We talked about get you up in the morning. That's the motivation. You will not get this. What do your direct reports say about you? However, as educators, we are often asked about student evaluations or parent evaluations. So always save the good ones. If a parent sent you an email that said, I thank you so much for what you did for my kid, they were this and now they're this, I'm saving that email. Y'all, I have a file on my computer. It's in my Google Drive, actually. Student thank you emails, good student evaluations, things that have come. You save that because you're going to need that at some point. Save them. So you can say, what do people say about you? Well, you know what? I've had, it's common for me to get great evaluations as an educator. My students like my class. They tend to make friends in that class. They grow. Most students say it was one of their favorite classes that they've taken at the university. And why do I say that? I got receipts to back it up. You want my student evaluations? Here they are. Save those and pull out the good ones. If you're smart, you pull out some way to give your students an opportunity to reflect on what they did. Save that. Save it. Because you want those. They're good. Okay? Use it. What are your boss's strengths and weaknesses? You are not going to have to answer this question. Let's hope not. Only until you're about to be an administrator. But be able to say what the good things and bad things, strengths and weaknesses, and say, it taught me what I want to be as a leader or as an educator, as an administrator. It taught me that I want to do this. Always reflect back on yourself. Okay? We've answered this. These are your weaknesses. If you called your boss and asked what your weakness was, that's it. You're just going to give them your weaknesses. That's fine. Are you a leader or a follower? There's no wrong answer to this one. Okay? You can be what you are. If you're a leader, that's great. If you're a follower, that's great. Nothing wrong. Remember, there's no judgment. Just explain why. Right? Often we'll say something like, when I first come into a new situation, I'm absolutely a follower. Because I think it's important for me to learn what the status quo is, what everybody else is doing, before I try to change things and make any improvements or adjustments. I did that here. For example, when I came to DH, even though my responsibility was for all the curriculum, for all the speech classes, I could have come in the door and changed everything immediately, but I didn't. I spent my first 3 or 4 semesters teaching the way that everybody already had, what was in process. I used the same textbook, I used the same curriculum. I wanted to see how we were doing before I made any adjustments. So I was a follower, absolutely. But then I became a leader. I changed it. I got rid of the textbook. We now have a free textbook. I changed the curriculum. It's completely rooted in speech for students of color, which I designed for our university, and speak nationally about it. But I'm a follower first before I'm a leader. And then this one is the one I like. It's fun. If they ask you, what was the last book you read for fun? Y'all, this is not common for us. We don't get to read books for fun these days. If you do, that's awesome. I love to read. I just don't remember the last book I finished reading for fun. It's just weird. I think it was one of the Bridgerton books, right? And I read it full book on vacation. But we just don't have time for that. But if they ask you this question, you need to know what the intent for the question is, right? Why are they asking this? Remember that character component? We want to know about you. So tell them something that interests you. And if you haven't read a book lately, don't make up a book. Just say, you know what, with my educational, requirements, I haven't had the chance to read a book for fun in quite some time. The last book I read was a textbook, so, it happens. But you know what the last thing I did do that I found really interesting was I rewatched the entire Harry Potter series with my family. And it's something that I really enjoy because the idea of being able to have fantasy and talk about good versus evil and how good overcomes, it just is a really wonderful experience to have with your family, and it's a great thing to share with kids. And so while I haven't really read any of the books lately for fun, that's something that I've done that's enjoyable. You can also talk about going to Disneyland. I also have a stand-up paddleboard. I don't read books, but I get out on the water. So whatever you did, share that thing that you do for fun or adventure. Okay? Come on, who connects? Where's it at? It's not letting me go to the next one. Come on. I have a final one. There you go. So we didn't have time to practice, but please did you write your answers down? Did you write the questions down? Did you write how to work them, right? To answer. Now, here's what you're going to do. We're not going to practice now, but I want you, when you're prepping, right? We'll talk about this in a second. I want you to actually go and answer the questions and type out your answers. And then practice them. Get in a habit of answering and practicing those questions out loud. One time is not enough. You're preparing for these. You're going to work on your resumes in another workshop. So be prepared. Always tailor your answers to the job description and what they're going to ask you. And practice. It's really important. Practice out loud. Take yourself up off your couch. Go sit at a desk. Go sit at your table. Go sit somewhere. Put your things there. Sit up like you're going to be answering in an interview. When I give speeches, I practice standing up because I never give speeches sitting down. So practice as close to the way that you're going to have to do it as possible, right? And practice your answers, say them out loud. Remember, you can and will get the job. It is yours. You just have to prepare. So practice, be confident, know that you're walking in there with the ability to be the person who wins it and kills it and makes sure those other people go home without getting the job. It's yours. You got it. Questions? Last one. At like 2 minutes. I'm right on time. Any questions for me or thoughts? Thank you. Well, you can always find me. My office is on campus. I'm in LaPorte Hall, B315. You go to the 3rd floor and exit out the elevator to the left. I'm just past the men's bathroom. I know it's a sad place to be because I can hear the toilet flush from my office. So you can always find me there. I'm usually on campus on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you can also email me. I am very active on Twitter and Instagram as a speaker and giving things like this. You can find me on all the social medias at Speaker Shantae. So I give all kinds of fun tips and tricks, and I'm always offering suggestions. So if you ever want to shoot me an email or whatever. I also do help students if you have some kind of presentation or something coming up. We do lend things out, like we lend out clickers. We have them, so if you have to give a presentation, I know a lot of times you have to give a teaching demo. You don't want to have to keep running back to click on the computer. Come borrow a clicker from us. If you don't want to borrow one, right, we have a ton of them, but if you want to buy it, it's like $6 on Amazon. So you're probably going to use it, right? And a lot of schools now have like touchscreens and stuff, so you can practice on it. But if you need it, come borrow those things. We always have things like note cards. We carry like extra binders and sheet protectors and the kind of stuff. Anything that goes with presentations or job interviews, I have them in my office. Feel free to come by and grab them, borrow them, whatever you need. Thank you so much for letting me do this. This was a blast. I hope you learned something. So great, yeah.
You said we'll be able to get the.
I'm gonna send it to you. Yeah, I'm gonna
And we will have, later on, we'll be working on a mock interview workshop. I will also be sending you some teacher questions, you know. I know Dr. Duenas really helped us with that. She's helped us for a couple of years doing these mock interview workshops with real administrators. And so it's really great. Sometimes we've gotten 4 or 5 principals and they come. Sometimes they we're like, wait, you know, this is mock. Like they're trying to almost hire you right then, and they were like, wait, this is mock interviews. So those experiences will be coming up, and so there's more practice. So thank you so much. I learned so many wonderful things from today. And don't forget, everybody, the bag for your master teacher is right there. And if you have any other questions, let me know. So I'll be here. Thank you. Have a good one. What you doing over here? I mean, yeah.
Oh my god, I took a picture specifically for you that I have not sent.
What is?
Oh my god.
Don't you
Oh,
love
label.
Oh my god, that's perfect. Oh, that's beautiful.
If they had a keychain or something, like I was gonna get it.
That's my contact.
See you tomorrow.
I think 7th grade. They're all Jennifer. They're pretty okay. That age group is the good thing is I got the 7th graders and they're
We made it. Another year. So we're both.
Oh my god, let's went to the other one. The one that you said. Yeah, that one. That was really cool. Yeah. Well, okay, so we didn't go there because ya habíamos comido, but then they started drinking, and then
She's still recording.
chocolate. Yeah.
Oh, you're